How does one take a brilliant expertise they have honed over the years and turn it into a thriving, profitable B2B tech platform serving thousands of paying customers? Our guest scaled her startup from 0 to 12 million in annual revenue in just 2 years, using only 2.5 million in funding. Oh my gosh, you are going to love hearing her story today and grabbing all the gems from her founder journey. Stay tuned for the Startup Life live show. Let's glow, everyone. Hello and welcome to the Startup Life live show. I'm your host, Andy Lyons, 4 times founder and startup champion to founders around the world. And after raising 4 businesses of my own, I have a pretty good idea of what you're navigating every single day, those high levels of uncertainty. That's those moments where you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm so brilliant. Everything's going great. And then quickly going into, oh my gosh, I know nothing. I didn't know what I didn't know. Oh no, it's a disaster. And then back up again. It's a beautiful roller coaster ride, right? And that's why we're here to share all the real stories diverse founders experience on their founder journey. So thank you for carving out time to tune in, because as you do better, founders, that's right, your business is going to do better. I'm so grateful for the live viewers tuning in today. Mwah, hello. And to the replay video viewers, hey, how you doing? And podcast listeners, oh my gosh, I really am so grateful that you've tuned in. And speaking of podcast listeners, would you be so kind as to be sure to subscribe and rate and do all the things wherever you're tuning in. It really helps us reach more founders. And those of you tuning in on YouTube, if you haven't done so already, we would love your subscribe, love, and clicking on that notification. And again, it just really helps us reach more founders around the world and help them with their journey. And be sure to share the video everywhere you glow. And if you haven't done so already, find out. Get an alert every time I post a new show. Join the Startup Life Live meetup group. And there you'll get a deep dive into the guest. And it could be a guest who's got some incredible advice specifically for you and your business. And speaking of advice, I want to take a moment and talk to you founders about something. Your business idea doesn't have to disrupt anything or be a unicorn. It just has to be good. And I feel so strongly about this because you know that there's so much glam out there about and they have $1 billion business, or if you're raising capital, it's all about scaling into the billions. But you know what? You can build a profitable, sustainable business that makes you happy, changes the generational wealth for your family, employs people in your community or around the world, and leaves you proud of your contribution to humanity, all without meeting the unicorn business model. Now, that's not to say if you're called to raise a unicorn, I'm cheering wildly for you as well. But please, folks, don't discount or belittle your business because it doesn't meet someone else's measuring device for success. And just because folks rarely talk about the startup that takes on a small amount of capital, maintains control of the company, and has a life-changing exit, doesn't mean your business isn't valuable or a meaningful entity. Because, hey, all businesses matter, whatever the size or annual revenue or exit value received. I have a quick reminder to the women-owned businesses in the U.S. about WeBank. Do you know about WeBank? This is a wonderful organization that will certify your business as a woman-owned business. And whether your business is manufacturing, construction, economics, robotics, AI, or goods and services, there are growth opportunities and revenue opportunities you're missing by not becoming certified as a woman-owned business. And of course, the gold standard, as folks know, is WeBank right there. And I help folks with their WeBank application. So if you're interested in help with this application, because it's an early one, I'll have to tell you, I've helped dozens of female-owned businesses cross that finish line and get certified and get into supplier diversity programs everywhere. So just shoot me an email, andy@andylyons.com. You know how to find me. Anyway, thank you so much. I'm so excited to introduce our guest today, the phenomenal Lee Rubin. She's the CEO and co-founder of Confetti, a young, well-funded startup helping companies create memorable, easy-to-plan experiences that inspire dynamic workplaces encourage healthier offices, and motivate happier, more holistic teams. And today, Confetti is loved by 2,500 plus businesses such as Google, Facebook, Spotify, and many other startups, firms, and agencies. We're going to learn so much from this fab female founder. Let's bring her into the room and celebrate. Lee Rubin! I got the maraca out today with the clapper. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thanks for having me, Andy. And I got to get myself one of those clappers myself. I feel like
I know. Clappers are so much fun. Let everybody know where you're hailing from today.
I'm calling from Miami, Florida, for anyone of us who's enjoying the weather during the winter time. So
excellent. Well, we're gonna, I know that Mia is tuning in from Florida. She's usually in Denver. Hello, Mia. So happy that you are here. And I just want to say, if everybody knows who tunes into the show, when Mia swings by, we have to do a big shout out to her incredible podcast. That's right. Shit We Don't Talk About with Mia Voss. Go listen. Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you listen. No one has those conversations about topics we never talk about, like Mia Voss. My husband calls Mia the voice. That's how good she is at sharing. Anyway, so I just want to say a quick hi to my wonderful, wonderful Ruth. Hey, Ruth. Let me just pull up a little. Whoop, 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 whoop. Here we are. This is Ruth Machaba, everybody. She is the community manager who greets everyone who shows up at the show on all the platforms, because we're live on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. And a quick hello to the loyal fan himself, Brent Manuel from Canada. He's a diverse person, loyal fan of the show, reminding us to talk about accessibility. So, folks, I'm over 60 years old. I've got short blonde hair, a big smile. I'm wearing all sorts of bright heart-shaped colors today. Lee, describe how you are presenting today, so those who are about accessibility know what we're talking about with you as well.
Yeah, well, I'm today wearing a black shirt with some glasses, and I'm calling from Miami, Florida. I'm in my little den in the office, still working from home, and hopefully the dog will stay behaved throughout the entire podcast, so you don't have barking in your ears.
Oh, well, we love the dogs, right, everyone? And hi, Richard O from Soggy, Northern California. Oh, my gosh. Podcaster, host extraordinaire, the one who helps all the folks out there who want to have a podcast. He quietly sits in the background for you. And Christopher Cunningham, hi. Good to see you. So happy that you're tuning in and playing with us today. Okay, so Lee, I always like to find out from folks, why did they leave payroll behind, that paycheck, benefits, 401ks? You had a business before you launched Confetti. Share with everyone what compelled you to become an entrepreneur, A. B, did you have role models growing up, or were you that person who hustled in elementary school? Or were you just like, I have to do this? Please share what compelled you to be an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much again for having me, Andy. And I hope for the listeners here today that we will make the most valuable call for you all and show. And that's my own personal goal, is to make sure that you're learning something out of this. But I'll start with me. And I weirdly always wanted to be an entrepreneur from a very young age. And I specifically saw the pain point for corporate events when I was working at pretty much my first job out of college, a great company called ZocDoc. And that at this point, I think this was like 10 years ago. And at ZocDoc, I was pretty randomly tasked with putting together the team events for my team. And we had to come up with different ideas, and we had to go to negotiate with vendors. And I found the entire process really burdensome. And I was like, there has to be a better way. And when I looked, I actually didn't see anything. So we were built for the in-person world much prior to COVID.
Right.
And as you said, today we are a platform that's actually used by over 6,000 companies to date. Really, yeah, it's been quite a crazy journey.
Wow.
And then
And
use our, yeah, go
And
ahead.
then, well, folks, this is, Confetti. I mean, they have these unforgettable team building experiences. You can discover hundreds of exclusive team building ideas and instantly book truly memorable experiences. We're going to figure out how did they figure that out on the platform. But also, I love the fact that you looked around and said, nobody's doing this. Can I tell you how many specifically women have done that? Typical women going, well, no one else is solving this problem. I'm going to. But what lit you up about event planning, period? I think having, led events and leadership conferences and stuff, I was happy with my tiny role because I found them very stressful to manage. And then we had a pitch event here in Boston, a monthly pitch event. That was enough for me to manage. How did you fall in love with that?
Yeah, I think, it's funny because we use the words like fall in love. And I think what I've shared is like, it wasn't actually that romantic. I think that many people who relate to solving a pain point for a group of customers, they might not necessarily need to like feel like an expert in that field or feel like they just want to go on that journey where they want to solve a problem for a certain group of people. And when I initially was exposed to Confetti, I actually thought, okay, I'm only here to solve making events easier to plan. And what I realized is that it was actually much deeper than that. It wasn't just the logistics and the hurdles of the planning. It was that if we can actually make the experiences really good, then we can have an impact on the culture that these employees have within their managers and their teams. They can actually like their jobs. And I think what's beautiful about work, just in a much more kind of maybe spiritual standpoint, if I may go there, but is that there's so many problems to solve in this world, and we're all like contributing members of society, and hopefully we're contributing and not distracting.
Well, but as you said, on a spiritual level, it's about connection. It's about human connection. So even though someone might be an introvert and you're an extrovert, or using the disc, you're a deriver and intuitive versus, the S and the C ones, or whatever your affiliation is with religion, you still are human. And there's a way to connect, and there's a way to create fun and excitement and maybe a little silliness and a little team building that becomes memorable, so that when you see that person again, you've got that memory of them in that capacity versus, why didn't they return my email? I needed that information like yesterday.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. I think that it's really nice when you think that every work in the world, from making food and teaching, like all of them have like a really beautiful impact on the people that you're servicing. And, I thought originally I was just trying to make events easier to plan. And then I guess as I matured and grew, I realized that it was much deeper than that. And
I love that.
Fulfillment.
This is why our businesses teach us so much about ourselves. I want to say a quick hello to Natalia, who, by the way, had an in-person event business for 20 years before she launched get this, everyone, a biomed business that is amazing, like doing remarkable things in the world. So I think that's so cool. Thank you for tuning in, Natalia. So as you moved from your regular event business into Confetti, first of all, how did you get the name? Because I'm always curious on how someone nails a popular name like that.
Yeah. Well, we actually just got trademarked, and it's officially approved, which is really exciting. I can go on a whole tangent about trademarks since I learned a little bit about that. But, for us, I think we really wanted a name that helps people understand in a very short time frame, like an idea of what it is that we're doing. And we get a lot of compliments. People are like, it's a party, we're having fun. It's to me, it's very symbolic because confetti is a bunch of little pieces. And to me, pieces is like symbolic of an employee, like another person on your team, but together you're confetti, not individually. Individually, you're just a random piece of paper, but something really fun. And so that's essentially where the name came to be. And as I said, we started off for in person. We did not expect to go to this virtual world. That was a pivot that we made, obviously, due to the pandemic. And
Congratulations.
thank you. A lot of
And was that hard? Because if you were an in-person event, event planning, that's great for companies coming in and making the magic happen. But now you're able to pivot. So let's talk about the technical aspect. Because, did you have a tech background? Did your co-founder have a tech background? How did you manage that part of it? Because we hear the horror stories of people, outsourcing product dev, not only never seeing their money again, but never seeing the code again. So please share with us your experience.
Totally. I lived through those horror stories myself, which is actually why I'm a very big proponent of having a technical co-founder and definitely an in-house R&D team that you can hold accountable. But when I first started, I always wanted to achieve very big scale with Confetti. It was never just interesting for me to have like a small boutique event planning company. It was always, how can I make an impact with these experiences at a great scale? Yeah. So I went the dev route. I had a third party agency that I worked with in Canada, and every time I'd be like, hey, what's going on with a product release? And they would be like, oh, it's deploying. And because I was so not technical, I would be like, okay, it's like downloading really like heavy software and information. I had no idea how deployment takes like minutes. And after literally a year and a half of trying to get this product up and running and realizing that not only was I not getting there, I also realized I need like a real technical partner, someone who can take the mishmash of ideas that I have and turn it into like a functioning website. So I moved to Israel and I interviewed over 100 engineers, and I found my other half in this business, Eyal Hakim, who's my CTO, and my co-founder.
Hi, Hickey. That's wonderful. And I love that. So I moved to Israel.
Yeah.
I mean, you just threw it out like, so I moved next door. No, you moved to Israel. You uprooted. Had you been there before and traveled and lived there?
I was born there, but I moved when I was 4. So it was definitely still very much a lift. But I had back then, the tech talent in New York was much smaller than it is today. It was a much less of a vibrant community than it is today. And Israel has a great tech scene. I wanted to kind of get it out of my system culturally. I'd always wanted to kind of go back, and it was also a much more kind of affordable place to live at the time when I was like bootstrapped.
Hello, for sure. And then also, it just worked out fortuitously for you because you found he became your co-founder. Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Because, folks, I'm going to go and share the website with you because I want you to see that this is not an easy, there's a lot of things involved with this website in order. And of course, you're having to pivot as well. I might just bring that up full scale like this for a second, Lee. This is a lot going on. Here are the companies that, are using you, our local favorite, HubSpot, Hooray, all the things that folks can do and move about this. I got to tell you, this is a lot going on and what you're offering. And I love how you were able to pivot, et cetera. So I just wanted to give everybody just a quick taste of, and folks, the podcast, go visit withconfetti.com so you can see, there's a lot of wonderful ways to navigate that website that required the brilliant co-founder, Hakim.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's wonderful. And hello, Jehu. So nice that you're here visiting. I'm so grateful that we're connected on LinkedIn, and thank you for referring this to Dimitri. You're the best. And I know, Natalia, Israel, what? But it worked out brilliantly. And I also love that you were able to pivot in COVID. And we've heard a lot of silver lining stories like this, right? When COVID, everybody went, oh my gosh, there was so much stress and unknown and so much uncertainty and some family and friends, lost to the disease, the virus. But, there were times where people pivoted, things came out of this, and it looks like you have been able to reach even more people and have a greater impact. Yes?
Yeah, it's it was really a beautifully like humble experience, and I feel very grateful because we had just raised our seed round, and so we had money still in the bank. And in many times I got calls that were like, Lee, I'm so sorry. This business that you've worked so endlessly for just got, totally obliterated within what felt like days. But we were weirdly very like cool, calm, and collected, and like from a business perspective. Obviously, from like an existential perspective, there was a lot of fear, but we were like, okay, we now are stuck in our homes. Let's build something really great. And what we found that was really beautiful is that even though COVID, in a sense, said, hey, none of you guys can get together, which is literally the whole point of an event.
Right.
We realized that people actually still want to get together virtually. And so we built really incredible experiences, really memorable, fun games and activities that help these companies bridge those relationships with their team while working remotely. And today we see, you fast forward and like remote work has very much stayed as part of our new world and culture.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I can only imagine that person who has a team within their big XYZ corporation can just easily go on board. Now, and find that thing that would be fun for their team, or maybe you can send a menu to your team and say, okay, what do you want to do?
Precisely. You have 200 plus experiences. There's something for everyone, every type of budget, every type of size. And we really wanted to make a platform that is affordable to really anybody. Like we have people who are like, hey, we're just a 5-person team. We're not Google. And we're like, hey, we have experiences that start.
So what is the cost, and how did you figure out the pricing, like what people would bear?
Yeah.
Pricing, sometimes there's elasticity and sometimes there is not.
Totally. And there's a lot of room for us to still work and discover on pricing a bit more. But essentially what we have is like, you have experiences that start as low as $7 per person. So it's important to us to be like, hey, if you can buy your employee a cup of coffee, you can invest in their culture. And just symbolically what that means to us, being able to empower companies of any budget and any size to be able to do these types of experiences and connect with their employees. We're like, there's no excuses now. But then you have really elaborate experiences where we ship, multiple cocktail kits and stuff where you can make.
Hold on, let's get the. I saw that. Folks, let me just bring this up. You can see the cocktail shaker here in this image. Is it on this one too? Not so much, but I also am very fond of what looks like a drag queen event.
Yeah, Pride Month is in June, and it's really beautiful to see how, right now in February there's Black History Month, and being a woman founder, it's really beautiful to see the transition that we're seeing in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I know you talked about accessibility, so little heads up, but DEI is growing to B for belonging, J for justice, A for accessibility, and I think it's really beautiful that work is really starting to look a little bit deeper at who's working there and what kind of impact they can make outside of the.
I love that. And just another comment from Natalia. Israel, my second home. It did not occur to me to go there and find a co-founder. What a great strategy. Well, we learn something every day. But she also has another question. Do you anticipate going back to in-person events?
Great question. We're still considering it. It's definitely top of mind because, in today's world, like a lot of our business, once we pivoted, everybody needed virtual events in 2020 and 2021. And then 2022 was our first kind of unique, kind of hard year because we were like, okay, many companies went back to in person. We're still very much considering it, but we really believe in the world of remote events. And I think that in order to do one really well, you kind of have to pick, and we decided to stick with remote for now, but all options are always on the table. So can't say no.
I love that. Yeah. And of course you solved this great problem that came on, and you solved it quickly, in my humble opinion. And so I think you've had some serious, because when you first launch a business, everyone, you're figuring out the landscape. You're getting to know your customers. You're trying to deliver on the services you think they want under the constraints of, in your case, a physical space. Yep. And the fact that you were able to come together, share some of the mechanics. So let's say a person with a team of 20 folks wants to do something fun and memorable, unforgettable with their team. How would they get started on Confetti? How would that work?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can walk you through it, but essentially you find an activity that you would like. And on each activities platform, you can read everything about how it works, what's included, what's required. And there are these really beautiful customization options where you can, for example, with mixology, click what kind of cocktail boxes you want, or if whether you want to upgrade to a shaker and any other type of upgrades that you have. So it's fully just like customized with a click, and you get an instant proposal directly on the platform, which is really nice to have transparent and instant pricing. You don't have to wait anymore for those vendors to email you back and be like, can I change that proposal? I want to make an edit. You just
Oh
customize
my
on your
gosh.
own
Come
page.
on, folks.
Fine.
Isn't this wonderful? I mean, the fact that first of all, you can choose and go, ooh, that's out of my budget. Let me see. Let me downplay that one a little. Okay, yep, there we go. I got the price right here. It comes delivered. And especially for, maybe icebreaker questions or activities for the team to do. Nobody's got time to figure that out on their own. You've really solving not only a problem that many team, managers and leaders within an organization have, but you're creating a delightfully delicious moment for them all. I just love that. So you raised some seed money, but you
Yeah.
also, raised significant, and again, folks, seed can be in the millions, all right? Or, Series A is usually when you get more than $1 million, but every company is different. Can you please talk about your fundraising efforts, what it was like? Because you are a woman and you know that everybody is in just, fit to be tied over the fact that in 2022, even less money went to female founders, under 2% in the venture capital world.
Yep.
Still, that's the money that really helps folks scale, everyone. So I got to tell you, we're just done with that nonsense. How did it go for you? Please share your fundraising
Oh
experience.
boy, I hope I don't have any. I hope my horror stories won't detract anyone. But on the same note, I sometimes find, at least in life, that when my expectations are really low, that it prepares me better and it makes me stronger going in. And then I usually overcome and over deliver when my expectations are really low. But we haven't yet announced, but we have raised our Series A. And to date, we've just raised a little over $18 million to date.
Bravo, Oli. That's wonderful news. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been a lot of hard work in the process, and we're really excited for the partners that we've been able to work alongside to make this happen. The Series A was extraordinarily hard. The seed was hard. Everything is hard about it. There's no other, glamorous fairy stories that I can
And
give.
was it venture capital? Was it an angel group or?
It was venture capital.
Right.
Yep, just regular and institutional.
So, Lee, when you got hit with the bias, because it's implicit, okay, anytime, I've raised millions with VCs and thousands with angels. Yeah, I could only use my charming personality so much, right? Of the questions for females are ridiculous. Tell us how you did it, and how you more than that. How did you manage the bias? What did you get good at? Because at some point, you got people to buy into your ability to execute and implement.
Yeah, I think what happens more so maybe with women is just that you really have to have your T's crossed and I's dotted. And I like to be held to a really high bar. It just I think that sometimes it's unfortunate that when I speak to some male counterparts, they're like, I wasn't asked that. And I'm like, oh well,
I roll.
I mean, I feel very prepared, which is great. And I think that ultimately is why they do see that a lot of like women founders essentially outperform their male counterparts. But yeah, I think you're just held to a very high degree. And I've always told myself, kind of in the same expression of don't cry over spilled milk. It's like I really will try to limit what I can't change. And obviously I'm a woman. I'm not going to change that. nor do I want to. I feel very blessed to be, who I am. And
Right.
the right people are going to find you and look through whatever stuff that is holding them back. And
So it was more like reaching out and just making it a numbers game, talking to as many people as you could.
100%. And making sure that the business is really good. That's the thing that I think we don't have any opportunity to the business itself needs to be phenomenal.
And what do you mean by that? Because everybody's at different stages. You have traction.
Yeah.
So, going after the initial seed funding of 2 million plus was one thing, but now, the bigger chunk, you really needed to have that traction. But what else about the business model was important?
I mean, the traction is very much the biggest thing that got us the check, even the seed round. I mean, we had already generated over $1 million before we got our seed funding. Yeah. And again, that the numbers allowed me to kind of speak. It allowed me to essentially, it spoke for itself.
Absolutely. And I want to tell founders who are tuning in, if you can get traction, all right, this is really key and if you have traction and you're going out to get more funding so that you can leverage and scale and do all the good things, be confident. Oh. You walk into that room, you look them in the eye and just basically say, show me the money or you're going to lose. And you're not going to, help your fund out by not investing in me. You've really got to show that level of confidence. But someone, as our dear friend Natalia here with her life sciences business, right? Biotech, biomed, you're not going to have traction until you get funding. So it's going to be your ability to share the vision and your uniquely qualified, delicious ingredients as a founder to nail execution and get a product to market, especially something that might be life-saving, et cetera. What are your thoughts on that, Lee?
I couldn't agree more. Anytime someone says, what's the magic formula? How do you get it? I say, look, it's going to be done when it's done, because there's for some people it takes a month, for some people it takes years, some people never succeed. And it's done when it's done. And the only thing that I can truly encourage and prescribe that will be the one thing that won't change no matter what product you're selling and who you are is that if you can crack the code of confidence, that's what people end up investing in. And honestly, it's a great life aspiration to have, regardless of the startup, is just
right.
Believing more in yourself. And that goes back to having more spiritual work right. involved in all of the professional stuff. I was also going to suggest the other thing that I think is super important is to listen to all the pushbacks, listen to all the questions that those investors are asking. They're all valid in its own way. And if you have answers to every question, I think that's another thing. As a female, I felt like I never got the opportunity to just be like, oh, I don't know what that looks like. I would be like, I have to think about it and come prepared next time to be like, oh, I thought about it and this is my answer to this question. And you should be if you don't have traction, at least know what you're talking about.
Excellent advice, Lee. Seriously, I'm just going to take a moment here and just go, oh my gosh, unbelievable. I did the extra yoo-hoo on the founder journey advice. Folks, if you want to know the types of questions you're going to get asked when you raise money, please email me and put in the subject, Andy, investor questions. Okay. I have them. We had the person who wrote these and they have not just the questions, the answers that investors are going to be looking for when you come back. So please shoot me an email. And even more importantly, folks, the questions you need to ask investors before you let them on your cap table. So that's equally important. How do you feel about your cap table, Lee?
I feel good about them. I think what's really nice is like any other relationship, it's always a work in progress. And I really believe in having transparency from a board level and including them, actively and regularly through our decisions and never surprising them with any information. Investors don't like to be surprised. And keeping them in the loop as much as possible. But there's a lot to learn from the right investors, and I'm very grateful to have them. the ones that.
Absolutely. And folks, it's just worth it to take your time sometimes. And hey, April Carr Kelly, you have been rocking it. I have been seeing you folks. This is a founder of the Shore Company. She was on the show last, was it early fall, April or summer? And she is bringing a vegan baby formula to market that's easy on babies, tummies and allergies, etc. So thank you for swinging by and sharing your love, April. You glow goddess. So as we move along through your whole process and you had your warm-up business, I'm a 4 times founder. You learn more as you go along the way. But with Confetti, can you share a few of those moments that did not go well? And it really helps other founders who think they're the only ones who ever have things go badly for them. Founders out there, you are not alone. Every founder has made so many mistakes. Do you have a few favorites that we could learn from with you, Lee?
And endless amounts. So I think, I think it's nice that you said, like, I had another startup before Confetti. I actually had 2 different ones.
Okay.
One of them that I like to share is a company that I try to create called Shop Like. And essentially it was all kinds of lookalike fashion for less that you see on celebrities.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, that's like a nice like leopard shirt that I would love to buy, but I can't afford that one. So what version do they have that's kind of similar at Target or at Macy's or whatever? So it was a whole Shop Like website. And I played around with that idea for about 2 months. And then as I was realizing, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do B2C. Like, I don't know how to market to just the everyday person. I don't know how to even where to begin. Like, Andy, if you want to look at my website, like, how do you even start to do that at scale? And so I was like, okay, I get it. Like, my comfort zone is in B2B. And that made me feel like I'm starting to understand where are my strengths and where do I start. I also think that definitely in the spirit of knowing your strengths, like, it took me too many years to realize that I needed a technical co-founder, and that process of working with a third-party agency just wasn't enough to grow the business.
Right.
And the other one that I think we did very well that I see a lot of startups kind of fall into the pitfall with is if you can try to get money from your customers early on into the process and not give your product for free, you're really going to learn more about the value that you've contributed to them. They're going to take you more seriously. So that's
oh yeah, I'm having an Andy-licious moment over that one. For so many reasons, but founders take this away from what Lee just shared, which is a delicious gem. And that is get them to put a credit card down, even if in the beta stage when you're trying things out, and maybe it'll be for free, but still make them put in their credit card information, because now you're going to get even more honest and true feedback, which is what guides you forward, right, Lee?
Totally.
Oh my gosh. And so when you're looking at how Confetti looks today versus even when you shifted during COVID, and you've raised this money, where are you seeing things going next? I mean, you've got some funding coming in. So I'm thinking you and your co-founder and the team have some great ideas for the future. Share.
Well, we scaled a lot over the past 2 years, and the first 2020 and 2021 was just very reactionary to everything. We were like, okay, let's build virtual events. 2020, we were like, okay, let's see if anybody even wants this. We're like, okay, we left 2020 being like, people want this. 2021, all of a sudden, everybody wanted this. So we were like, oh my gosh, we're just trying to keep up. We're just trying to, we grew 600% throughout 2021. We were just trying to.
Oh my gosh. Can I ask you a question about that? Because that's really good news. And it's also very scary news. How did you manage that level of growth in such a short period of time?
Yeah, I would love to say that we did, because there were many parts of it, but at the time it felt like we were drowning and we couldn't even, keep up. But we had a really good team that I think our culture was very strong in terms of making sure that you're giving the opportunities, delegating, giving any employee a really deep sense of ownership, and just saying, like, we have to do this. And what's beautiful, I think, with all the people that we've hired is most of them come from a hospitality background. So the nature and the care for them wanting to look after these people in these events and making sure that the quality was good, which is very core to every decision that we do from the customer experience. It was just a deep alignment. And other than that, 2021, we barely spent any money on marketing. So it was 100% inbound motion.
What? Everybody's like, oh man.
It was.
I also want to say, mwah, chef's kiss on onboarding folks in the hospitality industry because, of course, if you're watching White Lotus on HBO, but it's true. Anyone trained in the hospitality industry is somebody who loves to nurture someone having a great event. So it's not someone going, why'd they do that? Or that's a stupid thing to do. They're all seasoned to humanity, right? And the frailties of human existence and know how to handle what's going on. I love that. So no wonder you managed that 600% growth so well.
Yeah, it was really challenging, but we learned a lot, we grew a lot. And then 2022 had its own unique set of challenges because all of a sudden there was, very fortunately a vaccine and people were starting to get out of their house. And now we had to be like, okay, well, are people still going to want us? Who's going to want us? Why are they going to want us? And now that we learned all of that, now it's really, we sat down, we're like, okay, what's our future strategy? And ultimately the direction that Confetti is moving more towards is to build deeper relationships with the customers that are using us, getting to more predictable revenue. And we're really excited for the year to come.
Oh, I'm so excited too. Hey, April's saying that she loves this interview, enjoying this interview. And also, Lee, what a great idea and a great name. And I bet this is Brent Manuel who's asking, how accessible is your platform for people with disabilities? Because, there's a lot of invisible disabilities out there as well as visible. You have neurodiverse folks who need to hear and see things differently. It can be overwhelmed with a lot of bells and whistles, etc. How are you addressing that for our diverse disabled community?
Absolutely. It's a really important topic and one that I wish I could be more proud of my response because we aren't doing enough. And I know that is very much part of our initiatives for 2023 is to make our platform more accessible. And I think that, when you're building a new technology, it's sometimes difficult to prioritize which ones you want to start with. And, in 2022, as I said, in 2021, we were just reactionary. We were just trying to deal with everything. 2022, we were also just trying to deal with everything. Now in 2023, we were like, okay, what are some of the things that are important to us? And accessibility, both from our experiences perspective, like we have a beautiful sign language class, but we want to add more experiences onto our platform that are reflective of the affinity group for accessibility, neurodivergence as well. But also the actual website accessibility.
Oh, and you'll have the funds for that. So now to be able to do that and dive deep and delegate that to someone who understands and knows how to serve that audience and make that magic happen. And as you've built this business and you have the wonderful co-founder that you found in Israel, but who else has added wind to your sails? There's a myth out there. When I hear someone else saying that they were, self-made success, no one succeeds alone. Who added wind to your sails or opened doors for you and lifted you up?
Yeah, definitely. As I said, my co-founder is my rock in many ways, but my significant other, I think when you have a really good partner in life, they give you the freedom and the opportunity to just be you and embrace that they're just joining the journey. My parents, in many ways, both positive and some constructive. We all do, I think. And then there's my two first employees, Caitlin and Matt. I do want to give a special shout out to them because they they deserve.
I've got the maracas and the clappers out, everybody, because that's a beautiful thing. Go ahead, Lee, share.
There were many times that I was like, I don't know, am I going to be a good leader? Am I going to be able to manage? And people, it's an acquired skill, just like parenthood, like anything else. You just don't know until you know, and you try things out on people. You're like, oh, this didn't sound right. This was me, and I shouldn't lead like this or manage like this. And they were just so patient and understanding. They're still with me today, and I'm grateful for them every step of the way.
Mwah. Big maws and a big hug for those team members. I love that for you, Lee, and I love that for them as well. So when you have felt inadequate as a founder and a leader, and folks tuning in, you know that it's not if, it's always when you're feeling inadequate. Lee, how did you shift your mindset? What helps you stay strong during those moments of doubt?
Yeah. I think for me, one of the things is that, first of all, I'm still learning this. And I think that's part of the thing is like, this is a journey. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Right.
One strategy that works for me is I find that writing about the future gives me bouts of energy and hope. Just writing my dreams out, writing my problems out, writing those solutions out, kind of putting it all on paper is a really helpful exercise that I suggest and recommend highly.
I love that idea. And folks, it's that writing, it's kind of like talking out loud to somebody. It bubbles up, ideas start bubbling up because as you're putting out your visions of what success looks like or feels like, all of a sudden you're like out of the blue, a random thought will pop up into your brain and go, oh my gosh, that wouldn't have happened if you hadn't written it down or spoke it out loud. So thank you for that advice. And this whole entrepreneurship journey has been so amazing for you. And you've done really what I would say that Gary V, who talks about lowering the overhead, getting really lean, and so that you can work out all the details. How has entrepreneurship served you both personally and professionally on this journey, Lee?
Yeah. Well, I've always said that work is a professional, mental, emotional, spiritual journey. It's everything combined. And it's a canvas for me to paint on. It's a constant place for me to test my abilities and my skills to the fullest extent. There is no holding back when you're an entrepreneur. You can't just cut corners or take it easy. And there's a quote that I recently got exposed to. It says, "Bite off more than you can chew, and start chewing it, or just chew it, whatever it is." And I think just kind of almost working on my faith. I'm not a religious person, but I think constantly surrendering to the fact that like work is just this ability to exercise just our spirituality and our empathy and all those other goody delicious, as you call it, elements of life. Because
But
it's, yeah, go
that
ahead.
is so truly, and I love that something fierce because in my belief system, I'm partnering, right? I'm partnering with the divine. I'm partnering with the greater collective on this. That my work in the world comes through me. I'm not fully responsible. I'm fully responsible, of course, for executing and implementing and bringing my own deliciousness to it all. But yeah, that wonderful understanding that you're working on this with your higher self, so to speak. And it brings in all the parts and pieces that give us that fully expressed experience as a human. And, that's, I always tell folks you never lose. I mean, you always win when you launch a business, no matter what happens, because the journey is so enlightening, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it constantly tests us our patience with that annoying customer, with that employee that's giving you a headache. It tests our ability to lead, or it tests our ability to have faith. Because I would love to say that I'm in full control of my business, but first of all, just the pandemic taught me that, like, no, like, you were planning for building an in-person events business for years now, and life was like different direction. And I'm finding that it's constantly new things that I'm learning about, and it's
Oh,
beautiful.
that's wonderful. Oh, yeah. I mean, my food business, which I scaled in less than 2 years nationally, got shut down by Mother Nature. So, some things you just don't have control over. And there's nothing you can do but just say, okay, there we go. Moving on. But so what does success look like for Confetti going forward? Now that you have this funding, and how are you measuring that success? Because so often in our industry, in the startup world and entrepreneurship world, Lee, folks are using metrics that are based on someone else's measuring device. Talk a little bit about what success looks like going forward for Confetti.
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand that your KPIs, your North Star might evolve. So, for example, in our first year and even the past few years, our North Star was total bookings per month. So, and very similar to kind of like Airbnb, which is like, we're not optimizing for revenue. We want people to use us as a go-to solution for planning their virtual events. And in the first stage, it was really just about proving that people wanted to book virtual events. So that was
a good KPI.
It was a good KPI for that time.
Right.
Now the KPI is changing. Our North Star is changing to the average number of bookings per customer per month, because we have two important things that we want to essentially prove out with this. One of them is the fact that there's more predictability and more repeatability with our business, and that there's more loyalty, that the customer actually wants to come back, that they are coming back, and that we can take certain actions and measurements that will show that graph essentially eventually go up and to the right. And, when going into our Series C or B or whatever will be in our future, that North Star might change. We might be like, hey, we really proved out a good like CAC LTV ratio. We know how much our customers are worth. Let's go back to acquiring number of companies. But for now, we're not as interested in just pure acquisition. We want to deepen the relationships that we have with our current customers and hopefully get more of them to love us a lot.
All right. We're going to all clap and cheer and hold that vision for you. And folks, you know what happens when someone throws out that LTV CAC ratio stuff, right? I got to bring this up. I have a great video on the YouTube channel. Go to the Andylicious Advice playlist. You will find it right there, how to calculate the LTV CAC ratio. That's the long-term value divided by customer acquisition cost. This ratio tells you your return on investment for your marketing dollars. It is so important for you to know what it costs to bring on board a customer. And my video is a lot of fun, a little silly, but it still has all the formulas and everything you need to know. Thank you for bringing out one of my favorite terms.
Yes, you are so prepared. You're always on your A game. I love it.
So what final thoughts would you like to share about Confetti, how we can reach you, how we can get onboarded and start taking advantage, no matter what the size of our business is, of your incredible team building ideas and memorable experiences for teams?
Yes. Well, first of all, I really do I believe in business karma. If any of you want to reach out to me, I think in this scrolly thing on the bottom, there's my LinkedIn, and I encourage you to reach out, and I'm happy to answer questions and make time. And I know Andy is very generous with her time as well. As for us, you can visit us at withconfetti.com. And if I can ask for one thing today, is that you share that online on LinkedIn with your network and say, hey, if you're looking for great team building activities, heard about this company with Confetti, and that would go a long way for me. And I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity to be here. And
well, Lee, you just gave the best example for being media prepared. Have that call to action. Did you hear that, everybody? Withconfetti.com. Share it. Share this show. All the links to connect with Lee, as well as to follow With Confetti everywhere. The platform glows are in the show notes. It's the podcast as well as the YouTube archived video. And here on LinkedIn, or if you're watching on Twitter, you know how to find Lee. That banner's right there. I think that's such a generous offer. Founders have to stick together, right, Lee? There's nothing better than that peer support. Yes?
100%.
I
think we can be there for each other. We're collectively stronger as a group. Let go of the jealousy and looking at the other side, which grass is greener. It doesn't serve us. And I figured that if you're surround yourself with people who are more successful than you, they'll take you along to the journey. They'll teach you. They'll help you. Like, there's just no point on bringing our colleagues down.
No. Scarcity is not where we're at here in the startup world. It's all about adding wind to each other's sails and opening up doors. And speaking of wind and doors and sails and everything, one of my favorite founders, Abraham Ventura. How are you? So good to see you. Folks, Abraham has a phenomenal app for measuring roofs. Boy, did he solve a big problem. It's an InsurTech app company, and it's called Pitch Gauge. Go follow him on TikTok, because those videos that you're knocking out there, Abraham, are wonderful. And he's saying today, that's a good strategy, that confetti look. Thank you for swinging by, Abraham. Lee, thank you for coming on board, carving out the time to share your founder stories, your startup stories, and the whole journey, and how you figured everything out, and the challenges that you ran into, and then all of your good news. I am just so excited that we had the chance to also celebrate how you pivoted during COVID and 600% growth in 21. Come on. And now, raising more capital so that you can enhance more teams and create a better work experience and a human experience at corporations. I'm so happy that you came on today and shared that with all of us.
Beautifully summarized.
Ta-da! Okay, well, I'm going to pop you in the green room, and I hope you can stick around for a virtual hug while I wrap up the show. Everyone, did we learn the best advice from Lee? It's, listening to other founders' journeys and stories is so impactful for our own businesses, and it can create great ideas. I mean, you heard Natalia talk about, what? I should have gone to Israel too to find my co-founder. Never thought of that. There's so many great ideas that could come out from these conversations. And I'd like to share with the person we're having next on the Startup Life Live show. And it's this Friday, March 3rd at 12 p.m. ET. And we're chatting with Greg Sloan, and he's the Chief Purpose Officer and co-founder of Go Beyond, a talent development company that leverages behavioral science and technology to help companies attract, engage, and grow their people. Go Beyond has humanized and gamified the purpose discovery process for both the company and the worker. And you know how important it is to have a purpose-centered culture, right? So everybody's on the same page and going after the same North Star, but bringing their own deliciousness to it. And how do you know whenever I have a new show that I'm bringing on? I'm here Tuesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. ET, most of those days. And you join the Startup Life Live meetup group. We've got the links in the show notes. You can scan that QR code right there. I hope to see you there, the meetup group. In the meantime, until we get to chat again and share founder journey and startup stories again, I want you to please promise me that you'll remember you're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and as we say here in Boston, wicked smarter than you think. You've got this, founders. I'm waving Matt wildly and cheering you on. And I'll see you next time. Wishing you a delicious day everywhere you glow. Mwahs.